it slightly or not.
I mean, it would make sense to downweight it just because it'll be interesting. More interesting this way.
Yep. That is the point of this standard rando, to have random weapons. Oh, wow.
Ooh. Well, I hope you guys are ready for Swag Duck to show up, because there's the flute in chest number 1.
And we already have a map check showing us that, I believe that was Desert Palace is a pendant, and the other two are crystals.
Yeah, and I believe Eastern was crystal number 5, so that's a special crystal. So Eastern is a 5/6. Desert was, I believe, the blue pendant.
Yes, it was.
And Hera's crystal number 1, for those of you counting. Well, there's the Cane of Burna.
Interestingly enough, this is one of the items SaberWulf did not want to see at the start. So we'll see how he manages with it.
Come on, sword. I'm gonna look like some sort of weird prophet if this happens. Nope. Just a piece of heart.
Nah, if you're gonna give them sword, give it to them when they're in sewers, so they can use it to farm the rats, but we still get to see the cool strats for the guards.
Yeah, that's true. So one of the things about the Cane of Burna here is there's a very specific thing that it does. Anytime it hits something, no matter where you're standing, it's going to knock it upward. So the best thing to do with the Cane of Burna is to sort of pin whatever you're hitting against the top wall, and it'll just keep hitting them.
Yep, and the being efficient about how you can trap the guards is the key to getting through escape with a quick time and not running out of magic.
So yeah, as you can see, SaberWulf ran into the blue guard from the back, way down there, and knocked him clear up to the top wall. That's the sort of thing you need to keep in mind when you're dealing with Cane of Burna.
Yeah, and it is by far one of the, right up there with bombs for being one of the riskier escape items, as your magic is fairly tight until you get into the sewer system.
Yeah. The downside with Burna is you don't get those bombs. With bombs, at least you have some extra bombs to do the whole escape thing in the back.
Well, you only have the extra bombs if you manage to execute correctly.
That is true.
I don't want to talk about the times that I've left sewers with no bombs despite your 10 bombs allocated at the beginning.
So, I'm a weird person. Where if it took me all my bombs to get that key, I would actually take a death.
And that's actually a good point. The way that Standard has set it up, if there are save quit points during the escape sequence to help prevent soft locks. So for instance, right here after rescuing Zelda, if you take a save quit, you'll actually come right back to where she is, and it will refill part of your magic, or if you have bombs, your bomb inventory.
Alright, so both runners now escaping Zelda's cell, you know, fairly close to each other in terms of time, and also fairly close in terms of magic. They should both have enough to activate the Cane of Burna right now and hit the rat. Although there are a couple of extra magic pots along the way that our runners may be inclined to pick up.
Yep, Dark Cross Room and the second of the Water Rat Rooms has magic pots if our runners elect to pick them up. I would like to see... Oh, and Spleebie manages to get 2 bombs to drop. That's a huge advantage for him going into the backside of escape here. He will actually be able to check the final 3 chests that are locked behind a bombable wall. We'll see if SaberWulf is able to get any drops for himself.
As we can see, SaberWulf coming in, grabbing a couple of pots here. And Spleebie doing the same.
Yep, it's good to be safe, and especially for SaberWulf, he does need a little bit more if he wants to farm for those bombs.
Yeah, so the best place in my... Oh, boots! Never mind, who needs to farm bombs when you've got the boots?
That is true. Boots will let you get into that back room, but more importantly, we have already the flutes and boots before we've even left escape. Hello, mobility.
Indeed. The only other thing you could have asked for was a mirror.
Oh, the seed can't be that kind to our runners, can it?
Of course not. Well, there's a sword, a red rupee, and a burrito.
Yeah, just a little bit later than you wanted, but still an excellent find for our runners, especially with boots. It's a real pain to be dashing all over Hyrule without the sword, as you just immediately get smacked by enemies.
Yeah. Now, sword and boots, with both of those items in hand, I would, if I didn't check Lumberjack, somebody would have to come and make sure I haven't gone crazy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. These early boots, you really want to see what's in there. Oh, blue mail, that's a nice find early for our runners.
So you may think that both of our runners are running the same sprite. They aren't. And you'll see when Spleebie picks up this mail.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, so there's a couple of extra Link sprites that they created. Oh, the gloves in the Bonk Rock situation.
Wow. This is some solid early game progression. And we're not even into the item-rich location of Kekori Village.
So anyways, yeah, they added a couple of sprites where instead of having different colored hat and tunic, they actually match.
So SaberWulf's showing us that the Tier 2 tree pole is full magic. Not as important when you have boots, as there's a couple places you can get full magic, but still a good thing to know.
And the crab just has hearts today.
And I didn't catch it the first time around, but the Lumberjack hut...
Piece of heart, I believe.
Yeah, just a piece of heart, so we will not see our runners be going back there.
Ooh, there's Quake.
Potentially needed, potentially not. We won't find out until we get into the Dark World and get our check of Misery Mire and Turtle Rock.
Alright, a full heart in the Lost Woods hideout, which, you know what? I'll take it.
So Bob, how do you feel about finding these early medallions? Do you think they're the seed trying to tell us something, or just screwing with us?
The only early medallion I really concern myself with is Bombos.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, since Bombos does have the utility of letting you do Ice Palace.
Yeah, the rest of them, I'm like, all I think about when I hear those sorts of medallions. Hey, there's a bomb under that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, SaberWulf showing off his knowledge of the item drops in this game.
Anyways,
actually...
all I think of when I get those medallions is, yay, I don't have to go looking for this medallion.
Yeah, definitely. Blind's Hut, so far just having some trash for our runners, but oh, a full red bottle's always nice.
Yep. To be honest, at this point, any bottle is nice, because it lets you set up the Sit Kid check.
Yep, though they did, I believe, found a bee in a bottle as they were going through Escape. So they had that open.
So they have 2 bottles now.
Yes. The bee bottle's actually rather nice for clearing up Mini Moldorm Cave. Though they do have sword, so it's not as bad.
To be honest, I would use B strats on that, because getting close to those Mini Moldorms is sometimes a losing proposition.
Definitely. Just like their big brethren Trolldorm, they like to mess with you.
Well, there is the cape. I'm not gonna lie, we are one item away from that ever so dreaded Aghanim access.
Yep, if we find the lamp here soon, our runners will have logical access to Agam. Mire from the bottle vendor.
Well, there we go. And SaberWulf going to activate the swag duck. Spleebie should be doing that shortly.
Indeed, and... Oh! Spleebie.
Don't forget your swag duck.
Well, he's gonna have a slightly awkward realization when he goes to use his flute. Hopefully he notices it there when he opens his inventory to take out bombs.
Oh, we got the solid chicken clip there.
It is certainly understandable, though, to forget you have flute when you pick it up at the very first chest in the game. There's a lot of other stuff on your mind before you get to Kakariko.
Alright, just a piece of heart from our favorite sick kid. You know, I think that might be why you're sick, if you're giving away pieces of your vital organs.
Yeah, that does not seem to be the best strategy. But he'll be fine with 3/4 of a heart, right?
And there we go, Spleebie is now setting up that swag duck. So everyone say hi to everybody's favorite swag duck.
A pack of bombs in library.
If he wasn't completely full on bombs, I'd consider getting them.
Yep, both of our runners doing quite well due to the 10 bomb pickup they got in Kakariko.
So just a big 20 on the race game, meaning SaberWulf is just going to flute away to 7, and we'll start the South Hyrule checks.
Yes, remember... Oh, hammer! Well, we are now one item away from Dark World. We just need the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, and as I've stated before, it is exceedingly likely that the Moon Pearl will be found before you need to go to Aghanim.
Yes, with the number of checks available to our runners, that's certainly true. Spleebie electing to save quit instead of using the flute. And SaberWulf is choosing to use bomb strats instead of the B. Very nice first bomb. And he gets through there without too much trouble.
He just gets to the last Moldorm in the corner and pokes him to death. So far, just money in Mini Moldorm Cave.
Not even much money.
Yep, a little bit of love and a little bit of money.
That was, what, 26 rupees? From 3 rupee pickups?
I think it was 46, but no.
Oh, was it 2 reds?
It was 41. Has 2 reds and a green.
That is miserable.
You are not wrong. SaberWulf is now fluting over to 8 for a slightly faster way to get to Ice Rod Cave. The boots also making this much faster.
Yes, they are, and we are going to see if he decides to do fake flippers after this. Without the Moon Pearl, it's not as good of an option as you cannot check Waterfall Cave. However, they're getting close on the money to do Zora.
Right. Now, at this point, I probably wouldn't go for the fake flippers myself. I might try to set up the dash glitch, though.
And it looks like that is what he's going back to do. So what SaberWulf just did right there is, if you dash right next to that edge, or to the ledge, it arms a very interesting state for when you then jump into the water. Allowing you to, as he's doing right now, walk, and with the boots, dash on water.
Alright, so there is a piece of heart, and he's not going to the hobo, which is understandable.
Yep, while he could get back into the water, he would not have the ability to rearm this water walking glitch. Book. Well, that gives our runners full access to Desert Palace. However, this is definitely a sequence break.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, Desert is a pendant, so it could be a giant red herring.
Just a heart piece on the Zora ledge, and Spleebie decides to head up to Death Mountain and is currently hunting for that old man in the cave.
Yeah, speaking of sequence breaks.
I really like doing this sequence break when you have Flute, as it gives you access to the mountain, which is the quickest full heal and Flute location that you get.
Right, and the only sequence break is this one item, so it's not likely to throw you off, and you'll note SaberWulf is doing the exact same thing.
Yep, one of the easiest dark rooms to learn, though without a sword it can actually be fairly tricky. As usual, Old Man has nothing useful for our hero. Spleebie arms the sword glitch so he can run super fast up Death Mountain.
And inside Spectacle Rock, it's just a +5 arrow upgrade, but we do have access to the mirror and the hammer, so we have plenty more items to check up here.
Yes, we do, and with Tower of Hera being a crystal, this is an excellent time to go up and do it. As with Flute, they do have logical access to Death Mountain.
Now they could be in a situation where they can't actually finish it on account of having no fire source at the moment.
Correct, but we'll find out after they open the first 2 item locations.
Nope, there's a big key, you're fine.
So SaberWulf gave us a map check of the Dark World. We have pendants in Thieves Town and Skullwoods.
Ugh. I am not a huge fan of when that happens. But Spleebie just picked up the flippers in Tower of Hera, so...
Well, that's interesting, because now SaberWulf going over to check the tablet as he has Book. But it's just cash.
Yeah, it's either 5 or 1 rupees. At this point, overwhelmingly likely to be 5.
Yeah, back to that Thieves Town being an unfortunate pendant location. The reason is, with its 4 items and full clearability with our runner's current setup, it has a tendency to have some sort of progression or important stuff for our runners.
Yeah, I mean, and Skull Woods, like, both of those places are pretty accessible early on, and knowing that they're both pendant dungeons, it's very annoying to have to traverse them.
Spleebie doing an interesting variation of the bomb jump.
Yep, knowing that the boots were available, he can just bonk back across, and that version of the bomb jump does not require, if you fail it, is not going to drop you 2 floors, just the 1.
Yep, that is a good reason to be doing that. However, I think they'd already pulled... Had they already pulled both items out of here? Yes, they had.
Maybe they just forgot.
It's certainly an easy thing to do. And Spleebie manages to avoid the Troll Dorm and gets him down with 3 hammer smashes.
Oh, SaberWulf is just like saving himself every second here.
Yeah, SaberWulf doing an excellent job of holding the opposite direction of where he was being knocked to keep himself from being sent off the platform.
Alright, so Spleebie gets those 2 items out of Hera. SaberWulf gets the crystal as well. And we'll be heading over to East Death Mountain. I imagine we'll see the Spiral Cave check followed by the Paradox Cave check. So Spleebie is going to go ahead and look at the floating island, which is a big 20.
Yep, because unless they find Titan's Mitts and Moon Pearl, there's nothing else they'll be able to do up here. So you can save quit after you finished up Paradox Cave. Well, just a little bit of love for our runners. They're actually at a reasonable heart count this early, especially with the blue mail.
So, there's a ongoing discussion in chat. I want to weigh in on this one. The question is, why are minor glitches allowed in the first place? And I think it mainly has to do with the fact that the most popular category for running this game is no major glitches. And so it wouldn't be... So it's not too different from what people are used to as far as running this game goes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to what the logic is as well. And we find Master Sword up in the Upper Paradox Cave. Wow!
Oh, best Paradox Cave ever.
Red Mail, Master Sword, and Powder all out of this cave.
Yeah, also blue goo.
Well, I mean, our runners didn't really need a third bottle, did they?
Yeah, but free blue goo. That's 160 rupees saved.
That is true.
160 rupees and a trip to the potion shop.
Yes, you do have to cut those coupons, especially since we still need to pay off Zora, potentially.
SaberWulf is going to be heading over to check that powder right now.
And Spleebie's choosing to get his flipper locations checked. So we will get our first check of Hobo.
Alright, Magic Bat, what do you got for us today? Moon Pearl!
That is an excellent thing to be cursed with. And so at 22 minutes, we have Dark World access. So with the runner's curtain item setup, they have quite a few things that they're able to do here. It looks like SaberWulf is choosing to do the Kakori and Skull Woods area first.
Oh, we're getting a ped check.
Ooh, that's super exciting for chat. Will we have a ped seed required?
Nope. That's just 3 bombs, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, Pet is dead. Incredibly early into the run, actually. Now it'll be interesting to see if that affects the routing of our runners. That could keep SaberWulf away from pendant dungeons such as Thieves Town, which if it has progression could be a major problem for him.
Yeah, it is, however, a green pendant dungeon, which kind of, you know, might lead you to do something in that department.
Yep, with that green pendant, Thieves Town will give up 5 items through a full clear.
This is going to be a little unfortunate for Spleebie, as he's heading over to the Eastern Palace area without the Moon Pearl. If I were, you know, optimally routing, I would want to come over here with the Moon Pearl and, like, combine Pod and Eastern into one go.
Yeah, especially since our runners are... Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay.
So I was going to say, with Mire, it's a good chance you can do both of these in one, but having found Bo, If Spleebie's fine with a little bit of Dark Rooms, he can actually clear Eastern Palace in one go.
How about a Tempered Sword in Skull Woods? You okay with that one?
I mean, I guess.
So like we said, these Pendant dungeons are a pain because you want to go in there and get stuff, but it's a Pendant dungeon.
Yeah, early Tempered Sword's a really big item for our runners. The amount of damage it does over Master Sword is huge. And that's before we get into how much easier it makes the Ganon fight at the end of the game. Compass in the first check for Eastern, so we will have to do a check of all of the chests.
I think he's a little low for this. Oh, he's going to do the... Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were right. If he didn't have boots, that might have been low, but boots increases the number of pixels that you can be within to do the bomb jump from the 2 to 5?
6, I believe. It's a lot. Silver arrows over in Eastern Palace, so Eastern Palace, you know, that area at least just kind of paying off for its vanilla weapon and its accessories.
SaberWulf showing an interesting thing, using the Quake medallion to freeze the zombies in place so that he's able to move the statue without issue. That's a really good use of the items available to you.
And hook shot.
Oh my goodness. Eastern Palace area is just a plethora of riches.
I mean, is that like the Swamp Palace care package, though?
Well, once he finds the Moon Pearl in Bat, yes.
So he's finding all this cool stuff, he's just not got the Moon Pearl. Oh my goodness, Fire Rod on Bumper Cave.
And we have access to it.
So that was why we picked up the cape early, not because we were going to have to go to Aghanim, but because the Fire Rod is here on Bumper Cave.
And that's a really heads-up play by SaberWulf to come over and check it. Early items you find in the logic that unlock other things have a higher tendency of actually having progression, and he takes a little bit of a fall, but he'll get right back up there.
And I think that was a reason... I think that may have also been the reason he decided to go to Skull Woods first. It's because he's like, oh, I've got the cape, I can check Bumper Cave while I'm at it. You do want to be careful with this. Don't try to, like, use your boots or anything going around this.
Yep. Oh dear, SaberWulf is not having a good time getting around this corner. Spleebie will have a much easier time whenever he gets over there, as he has the hook shot, which allows you to get across the gap.
Well, there he goes. Got it.
Fourth time is the charm for a runner, and he's going to get a Fire Rod as a reward. Excellent job by Spleebie to find the Igor hiding in the dark room and get his key out of it, but he still has to be careful as he's getting bodied hard by the other one. Spleebie's in a very unfortunate spot right now with the Igor blocking access to the pot he needs to move to get out of this room. SaberWulf finds just a little bit of cash over on Graveyard Ledge. Some very nice routing of him getting all of these Northern Darkworld and bootlocked locations checked in one go.
You know what would be funny? Is if the other glove was here in King's Tomb. That way we could get the double glove.
Oh no, Spleebie! Oh, that's super unfortunate for him. He's spent a lot of time trying to get through that dark room.
Yeah, he got the small key at least, so he can at least like finish it up when he gets back, but I think he's bailing out.
Yeah, that's a several... He spent well over a minute in there. But it's not that end of the world for a runner, as he found three important items that SaberWulf has not yet found.
So Spleebie is now going to go check the desert area.
And this is another very reasonable decision with what items are available to our runners. There's 4 items you can pick up in the desert area, whereas the powder to get Bat, which we know is where the progression is the single item he can do in Kakariko Village. Which realistically you'd like to batch with the other Village of Outcasts checks due to them having the Mire.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame Spleebie for doing any of this, but it's going to be a bit of a pain. SaberWulf is going to flute. I'm thinking maybe this might be a flute. Well, no, maybe he's not.
I think he's going to go check Hobo, as he skipped that earlier.
Ah, right, that makes sense. Alright, so Spleebie's going to head into Desert Palace. There are 2 potential items here in Desert. We already know that it's just a piece of heart on the ledge. Alright, small key, so we're not immediately boots locked, but we've got the boots anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Correct. It is always fun, though, just to see how the logic decided to work out what's needed for the dungeons.
Now, if there's an item on Lanmola's, then we're going to have an issue.
Yes.
Since he doesn't have a fire source. But SaberWulf is actually following Spleebie into Desert now.
It's very interesting. Spleebie having Darkhold access has several other things available to him. And Desert Palace is a crystal.
So SaberWulf probably doesn't want to do the Pod Eastern combination until he gets the bow, but he's not going to get the bow until he does the Pod Eastern combination.
Yep. And that's the second item, so we do not need to kill the boss.
And SaberWulf knows that you don't need to kill the boss once he gets that.
Though, interestingly enough, he's the one who actually has the ability to do so.
Yep. Alright, so Spleebie is now heading to check the pedestal, I guess.
Interesting decision from our runner. It's good information to have and can really affect your routing if you do find out you need to do the pedestal.
Yeah, I think he might have been thinking, well, you know, at least I could skip the boss, but wait, what if it's a pedestal? You know what? I could find that out. And so that's what he decided to do.
Yeah, there's not many locations left to him at this point. I believe the only 2 things he can do are Powder and Zora. Other than that, he'd have to go kill Aga.
Alright, I think Powder's happening.
Got it. Good job by Spleebie to remember that this is something you need to check, and he will now have Darkhold access.
And Spleebie's like, it's about time. Let's go. So Spleebie has access to Swamp Palace, Palace of Darkness, all sorts of places.
And at the very least, we're going to get a hype cave check. Would you want to go into Swamp Palace right now, with it being a crystal?
Well, I mean, let's think about where I got the items, right? So I got the flippers in Hera, right? And I got the hammer, like, out in Sphere 1. And I got the hook shot in also Sphere 1. And I got the mirror also in Sphere 1. So I would go into Swamp, but I would skip left side.
Yeah, it is definitely feeling like it's required for progression, or at least strongly hinted at. Especially with Hype Cave having not much of anything.
Spleebie leaving his seal of disapproval on the final chest.
Now, Spleebie does have an interesting routing choice that SaberWulf does not. With access to the bow, he could have gone over to Pod if he's fine with those dark rooms.
It looks like Spleebie's actually going to go west, though. Going to head to Stumpy, Cave 45, and Digging Game.
Yep, another pretty solid routing decision. Hey! The item that cost him so much trouble for not having, he finally gets.
Alright, so now I think if I'm Spleebie, instead of going into Swamp, I go into Pod.
I agree with you entirely, especially since he'd then be able to mirror right over and finish up Eastern.
Ah, there's that Zora money. Finally, both of our runners, or one of our runners has Zora money. Well, Saber just got it as well.
Yep, SaberWulf is following right behind and doing these 3 checks as well.
I think the motivation actually to head over to Digging Game is you can actually, you know, if you're lucky, you can make your money back and then some in the Digging Game.
Yep, it's not too hard to do. The red 20s have a pretty decent tendency of dropping.
So now that we've got that 300 from the cave, it becomes less important.
Yep, at this point, Spleebie has enough money to pay off both Zora and everyone's favorite Scam Monkey.
And a whole lot of digs for a whole lot of diddly.
Yep. So where will Spleebie go now?
I feel like this is a flute to 5.
Excellent
no,
call.
4.
Oh.
Oh, wait. I think he changed his mind. It's a flute to 3. Interesting. So I guess we're going to go to Skull Woods and all that mess.
Yeah, I certainly thought he'd just accidentally stop short of going to 5, but... Well, if he does head into Skull Woods, this will be good for him. He'll get his Tempered Sword, which is an excellent early item. And depending upon his routing, he could head over to Bumper Cave and get the Fire Rod. SaberWulf is also coming back over to Village of Outcasts, and there's not as much actually available for him to do over here unless he wants to head into Thieves Town.
Yeah. Village of Outcasts, Thieves Town area is generally what you'd be doing this way.
It's very interesting that SaberWulf has been doing a lot of dipping into Pendant dungeons, despite the fact he was the first one to check the pedestal and find out it's not required.
Alright, so SaberWulf is now checking the chess game, which we haven't seen yet. And the Titans mitts are there.
Oh, that's a big one for our runners. Titan's Mitts being one of the other major progression items our runners needed, and that opens up a lot of locations for them. But even more for it when Spleebie finds it, as that'll give him full access to Dark Death Mountain.
Wait, why wouldn't SaberWulf also have Dark Death Mountain access? Oh, well, the hookshot.
Yep,
Hookshot
he can't.
Cave. Yeah. I was like, you can get over there without the hookshot. Oh, but there's this cave.
Yep, he can get the one item out of it, unless he suddenly displays a capacity to hover. Which runners have surprised us with.
Has happened before, will happen again. There's a shovel inside Thieves Town.
Yeah, that's actually an unfortunate item for our runners to find. They've already checked all the other items over that way, so it's now just a lonely little item.
Yeah. SaberWulf. So SaberWulf has has checked the 4 locations in the front of Thieves Town and found 1 item. So at that point, you kind of bite the bullet and you're just like, all right, fine. There's the potential for 4 more items worth of stuff back here.
Yep. And Thieves Town isn't too long of a dungeon to clear out either, especially for its item density.
Yeah, I think any given seed, any given runner, you're going to have about a 95% chance that you're going to clear out Thieves Town.
Especially in his case, with not having bow, it really looks like he's hoping to be able to batch both Eastern Palace and Pod into one full clear.
Alright, so Spleebie has now checked everything in Skullwoods that he can at the moment. We'll see if picking up this fire rod leads him back into Skullwoods or not.
For him, I would certainly hope it doesn't. He's got some very good item locations that he can go check.
He's like, wait a minute, what?
Good job not getting hit in the face by the crow. Those things love to murder runners.
Yeah, although with the red mail, it's not quite as bad. The hookshot means that Spleebie will not have nearly the trouble that SaberWulf did in this room.
SaberWulf finding his 11th heart already in Thieves Town. Our runners are very healthy this early into the seed. 11 hearts with red mail is... Oh my goodness, there's Butter's sword.
Wow. And I mean, Spleebie found silvers over in Eastern. It's not like you're not going to find silvers.
Yeah. Now, finding Butter is certainly nice, but it's not as big of an advantage as it is going from Master Sword to Tempered, so Spleebie is not as disadvantaged by not having Butter.
Right. Now, of course, the other possibility here is that the green pendant holds something important, which I think SaberWulf is actually planning to head over to the Pod Eastern area after picking up this green pendant.
It certainly would be a good routing decision. SaberWulf having a pretty good blind fight, sticking very close to the plot, and not letting blind escape from the top of the room.
Alright, so 10 arrows from blind, that's going to do it there. Second dungeon completed for SaberWulf, but still only 1 crystal at about 43 minutes in.
But a lot of progression items, so I suspect we'll see a lot of dungeon diving coming up here as a significant portion of the overworld has been checked by both of our runners. In fact, at this point, Dark Death Mountain, I believe, is the only untouched area of the overworld. And the Mire area.
Yeah, I was going to say Mire area.
Because we just got Titan's Mid access.
Right.
SaberWulf selecting to do the rest of the fetch quests over in Village of Outcasts.
I mean, given you just picked up the Titan's Mids, it's perfectly reasonable.
Definitely is.
So here's the plan. The script I have in my head, at least for this. You do this peg cave. You turn in the blacksmith. You come back. You get the purple chest. You save and quit, or mirror and flute to 7. You go turn that in, and then from there you go do the dig spot, and then you go flute to 5.
That's a pretty solid way to route all of that in. Spleebie is also electing to go into Thieves Town. This is very interesting. He has access to both Pod and Swamp Palace, which have 5 and 6 chests respectively between them, but instead he's coming into this Pendant dungeon.
Meanwhile, the blacksmiths today having a massive counterfeit operation. There's the flute to 7.
Yep, so at the very least we get to see what is inside a lunchbox.
So Spleebie has actually been to Eastern already and died in the dark room.
The lunchbox is a scam, and SaberWulf is over to Mire, so we'll get to see the 3 items that are hiding over here, as well as what medallion we need.
I mean, that looked like Quake to me. Was I making that up?
I think you're right, but I'm going to catch it again on the restream. Yes, that was Quake.
So SaberWulf could elect to go inside Mire. I'm not sure I'd recommend it without the Cane of Somaria, but then again, I've seen the Cane of Somaria in Mire way too many times.
Yeah, that's certainly a tough one, with only 2 items, and...
Oh, well, never mind.
Alright. Cane of Somaria decides to hide right next door, and we can now clear Misery Mire.
So yeah, if that doesn't say, go clear Mire right now, I don't know what does.
Yeah, even if Mire ends up not having any progression, it's... well, as long as you're here, just get it done. So with SaberWulf finding that Cane of Somaria, we're actually at an interesting point in that, depending upon what medallion is required for Turtle Rock, the only other item we need is Ice Rod. And as runners of version 29 are familiar with, Ice Rod tends to be one of the most trolly items to find.
Yep, the Ice Rod, of course, it's probably in left side swamp.
Yeah, it's interesting in that with our runners having already done a lot of the Pendant dungeon checks and Pedestal already being dead, probably the trolliest location it could be is... Actually, no, I'm not sure now, because they already found both items out of Skull Woods. Did they? Or did they only find one?
I think it was just the Tempered Sword.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually, because the Fire Rod... Yeah, they didn't go back once they found Fire Rod. So that would be a fun place for it to be. Turtle Rock, of course, being the other great one to go hide it in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a race yesterday where Turtle Rock had it. It's pretty great.
It is one of the really frustrating things to do, because Turtle Rock takes forever if you have to re-clear it.
Lucky for me, I just went for it.
Blind got a little bit away from Spleebie, but no problems finishing out the fight, and he gets his green pendant.
Alright, so SaberWulf gonna check some more things here in Misery Mire. Just a compass in the compass chest, so there's one vanilla. We're gonna have the big key in the big key chest.
We certainly could. Spleebie also looks like he's going to finish off the fetch quests over in Village of It's a good time to check it, but I would like to see him starting to get into some more dungeons. The way the version 29 logic update worked is that overworld locations lost a little bit of the progression items they have, and dungeons are slightly more weighted. So as you've cleared out more and more of the overworld, you really need to start getting into dungeons. Vanilla Big Key does not have our Big Key, but it does have one of the items from Mire. So off to the right side we go. Spleebie, or SaberWulf rather, using a good choice to grab his powder to get that anti-fairy into a fairy to get his health up a little bit. Mire as well as Turtle Rock are two of the great dungeons to have powder for, as there's quite a few anti-fairies that you can use to keep your health up, and they are both fairly dangerous dungeons.
Very true. Now, the red mail makes this a lot simpler to deal with, but still, you can always, get yourself locked into sort of tons of damage for no reason.
Exactly, and even with red mail, Vitreous is still a very damaging fight, especially for SaberWulf, as he's going to have to show off sword strats. Though with Cape, he has a few, and Cane of Brinu, he actually has a few different options for how he wants to approach that fight.
Yeah, with Buttersword and Cape, I'm reasonably certain that Cape dash strats are the best.
I think you're probably right about that. A nice cane dash to hit the switch from the opposite side of the room.
It does look like SaberWulf will not be showing off the new ridiculous Mire tag, which I haven't figured out. But apparently there was a link to it in the chat. Apparently it's been dubbed the Spooky Action Glitch.
Oh, we already have an official name for it. Excellent. Yeah, Spooky Action Glitch is a weird one, abusing the way items are stored in memory to have the fire rod hit the switches from off-screen. That has been one of the real fun things about this randomizer tournament. Due to the sheer quantity of matches that have been going on, two different glitches were actually found, one prior to the start of the tournament and one the spooky action glitch during it. We also found potion glitch in pod to skip the bow requirement until Helmasaur. SaberWulf finishes off Mire with no issue and grabs his second crystal at 53 minutes. Now at this point, he's really got to start to be wondering where that hook shot and bow are. But instead, it looks like he's going to head over to Ice Palace.
Alright. Yeah, Ice Palace is a crystal. You're going to have to clear it anyway.
Yep, and it is also one of the red crystals, along with Eastern Palace. So once you get those two done, you will be able to check Pyramid Fairy. This is a really interesting and tough routing decision to have to make, because with the relatively... I mean, you want to head over to Eastern and Pod with bow. But at this point, there are quite a few items over there available to you, and you've not checked them yet. And then with Ice Palace being a very fast dungeon to clear in Go mode and only having 3 items, it can be a really tough decision to decide which way you want to route it. And for us on commentary, it's obviously a lot easier as we already know that Eastern Palace is the place that SaberWulf needs to be going to be able to clear Eastern and Pod.
Yeah, so basically, you know, if SaberWulf goes over to the Eastern Pod clear and does things in the order that, you know, I imagine he would, it would be a pretty solid way of getting things done, because he would go to 5, take the portal into the Dark World, mirror in front of Sahasrah's hut, and get the bow out of there, and also turn in the green pendant, because why not? And then head over toward Pod and Eastern. You can clear those in any order, and you will get the hook shot out of there eventually.
Yep. Though that will be an easier decision after he finishes up Mire, and that is where I like to see him go. Spleebie's red shield actually doing its job and saving him from a fireball.
Oh, he's out of magic. He could have gone downstairs and grabbed another thing, but...
Yep, the room directly below that has a full magic refill, but he was also a little low on health, so...
Yeah, I guess it's technically not downstairs, it's just down.
Yeah, close enough.
So the reason that SaberWulf didn't do the Ice Palace bomb jump is he's got the Cane of Somaria and he plans on full clearing the dungeon. And so it's going to be faster to not do the bomb jump.
Exactly. Though you do still see a lot of runners, even planning to full clear, end up doing the bomb jump. A lot of it just has to do with habit.
Yeah. And one of the things I like to do, if I'm going to full clear the dungeon like this, is after the Freezor chest, if I haven't found the big key, I just go ahead and do the bomb jump in that room to head over to the right-hand side.
SaberWulf is taking an interesting route back here through Ice Palace.
Yeah, I think he's potentially planning to go beat Cold Stare right now.
That's the only thing that would make sense to be going back this way, as he has no other way to get back upstairs to where the rest of the chests are. Yeah, I think SaberWulf forgot which room he was in and was hoping to do a bomb jump across the gap back over to the room where you fall down to the big chest. From there, he would then be able to take the stairs back upstairs and get those chests, but if he just continued on the original path he was on, he would have been upstairs. But SaberWulf does figure it out, and correctly chooses to not mirror out. That's a very unfortunate thing when you see runners accidentally do that.
I'm not going to lie, actually mirroring out might be okay in this scenario, depending on how familiar you are with this upcoming bomb jump.
Oh, that's right. SaberWulf has not found the hook shot yet. Oh dear, he falls immediately.
Well, now he's just kind of...
Now he's really stuck.
Himself.
He does not have a key to get through this door because he used it to get to the other. Oh dear, SaberWulf. At this point, he's trapped himself, actually, and is now forced to do a required bomb jump unless he wants to come back here with hookshot. Yeah, this is why a lot of runners hate Ice Palace. If you get messed up in your routing, really bad things can happen. And it's also one of the reasons why you'll see runners do the bomb jump even on the full clear, because at this point, if SaberWulf had, he could have headed down and actually fought Cold Stare.
Alright, so let's see how familiar SaberWulf is with this particular bomb jump. There's actually a decent setup for it. The important part is to be on the lowest possible Y pixel.
Yeah, but SaberWulf's health's very low. He's not going to have many chances to line this up.
I think he's got it.
No, he needed to move a little bit to the right after dropping that bomb.
Well, if you drop the bomb to the left, I think it works. It's just, I think he got blocked by that shocking jelly on the corner.
Potentially. It's that, or he was just one pixel too far to the left.
Oh, yeah, okay, he was a pixel high. That's what he was.
There he goes.
Yeah, so the thing is, if you are on the... if you go up against that block, and then you get to the lowest Y pixel period, and just turn left and drop the bomb, you're fine. I know a lot of people will drop the bomb upward and then have to move to the right. That also works.
That's good to know. I was actually only aware of the setup where you are facing up.
Did I just give my upcoming opponent advice? We're all friendly here in this community.
We'll see if he still has that opinion after our race. So Spleebie is heading up Death Mountain. With Hookshot, he's going to be able to get all of the items available to him over here, and he's also going to check the tablet that he was not able to do the first time.
Yeah. We know it's probably 5 rupees. Nope, it's 1!
Even worse.
So we know where the single rupees are. One was in Mini Moldorm, and there's the other one.
Yep, so SaberWulf has finally finished up all of his checks and is just about to be on to Cold Stare, which I imagine is a bit of a relief after the frustration of the routing in here. Alright, what medallion do we need for Turtle?
It is also Quake, so Quake is the only required medallion today.
That's huge for our runners, because this means Ice Rod is the only item we need to enter Go Mode.
So, here is the big question of the day. If you are Spleebie, and you go through these 2 caves here, Super Bunny and Hookshot Cave, and don't find the Ice Rod, do you go T-Rock?
I think with the still ability to do Eastern and Pod, you can't, really. SaberWulf having a bit of an issue with Cold Stare. He missed the spin at the start of the fight, so they got away from him, but he does a good job of corralling them down and finishing up.
Spleebie finds the 4th bottle, this one containing a fairy, in Hookshot Cave.
And with the key being on Cold Stare, Ice Palace logically did require the hookshot.
Yeah, I think we could tell that the Ice Palace required the hookshot because the big key was there. And there's the Ice Rod!
Oh my goodness!
So we're done!
So
Go
yes,
do the thing!
Spleebie enters Go Mode at 1 hour and 4 minutes. That's absolutely huge. SaberWulf is heading over to the Pod Eastern area, so he's going to find his bow and silvers here pretty quickly. But depending upon how long he puts off going to Dark Death Mountain, that could be a major decider.
Yeah, so basically, it's whether or not he decides to do that before going into Swamp.
Yep. And Spleebie finding the ice rod up there is another one of the let's check when they still have more item-dense locations available to them.
There we go. There is that bow for SaberWulf, who expresses his slashes of disapproval.
Yeah, I think at this point SaberWulf is feeling pretty far behind. All the time lost in Ice Palace, along with Bo being in a Sphere 1 location. Now, with all that, I do want to point out, I really like the routing of mirroring in the maze game to go check Sarashala's hut. It's a really nice way to be able to get all of that done in one go.
So, you know, if you go in that maze and you go down in front of where that would be, and as soon as you hit the junction that goes up and down, if you mirror exactly there, you will be literally inside the door.
Yep, it is really...
So we found the Ether Medallion for SaberWulf. It's not required, but, you know, anytime I find a medallion like that, and I haven't seen what the remaining medallion is, I get a little more peace of mind.
Yep, especially if you haven't checked one, having two really ups your chances of being able to get into both dungeons.
So the green pendant turn-in just got you 3 bombs, much like doing the pedestal would do today.
Yeah, this has turned out to be an incredibly fast seed. If done completely optimally, our runners could have been in go mode, somewhere around the low 50s, with a skip of Thieves Town, for instance. But that is, of course, the benefit of being the commentator. We get a bird's eye view of the optimal way to run it.
Alright, so Spleebie is going to go outside and check the big chest, which is a perfectly fine move. I don't see him checking the Mimic Cave chest.
He certainly shouldn't at this point. He has everything he needs to finish the game.
Yeah,
12 hearts with red mail is plenty.
There's basically no reason. Hey, and there's the remaining medallion, the Bombos medallion.
But especially with the fact that you're very likely to find another heart container or two by the time you get up to Ganon. Just go, go, go. So Spleebie does not find a small key there. He will have to check Laser Bridge.
So, if you were playing the seed optimally, you could have skipped all the pendant dungeons, but you would have also missed out on 2 sword upgrades. So you'd be on Master Sword while your opponents are on Butter.
Yep, and the dip into Skull Woods is not, for instance, as big of a dip as the one that was taken into Thieves Town. There's pretty solid routing to do the front part of Skull Woods with the rest of North Dark World.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think that was actually probably the best route to do, because you had that cape, and Bumper Cave was kind of like, hey, you should come check me.
Exactly. That early cape really signals that you're going to want to go over there. Spleebie doing an excellent job of dashing around these I-beams.
I might take the safety door at this point. Well, he's got a fairy, I know.
Yeah, either decision is defendable. He might not remember he has a fairy. It's an easy thing to forget.
I mean, I almost forgot right there.
And of course, it is the very last chest that you check.
It's always the last chest that you check, even when it's not.
That is an excellent point, but not quite what I meant. Oh, dear. Those eyes are getting some real revenge on Spleebie for the rest of the seed being fairly generous.
Now, I don't think this race is a foregone conclusion at all, to be honest. Spleebie still has to go back and finish Eastern Palace, and do Pod, and do Swamp. So if SaberWulf finishes up Eastern and decides to go to Dark Death Mountain instead of going to Swamp, this will still be very close.
Yes, SaberWulf heading up to Dark Death Mountain will keep our runners fairly close to each other and will make it much more of a execution determinant than anything else. Spleebie doing a very good job at the beginning of the fight to get behind Trinex, but unfortunately doesn't switch to the Fire Rod soon enough to get the no cycle.
And there we go. Spleebie takes care of Trinex with that nice double spin slash situation.
Yes, he does, and that is his third crystal. So 4 more crystals to go for Spleebie, and he will be off to Ganon's tower. Meanwhile,
He's
SaberWulf...
still got to do ice as well. Whew.
Yeah, but he is going to get to go mode it, which is a huge advantage for him.
Yeah, big time.
SaberWulf gets all his hammer slashes in, and then 2 quick slashes for Buttersword and Helmasaurus down.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so Spleebie is now going to restock in the potion department.
Yep, better safe than sorry. And I doubt we'll see him come back over here. 3 blue potions with the rest of the stuff they have should be plenty to finish up this seed.
Alright, so SaberWulf is mirroring. We're going to go into Eastern, I'm sure.
Yep, and he will get his silvers out of here, which will be a very nice find for him. So SaberWulf is actually going to have a fairly tough routing decision. We know he needs to head up to Dark Death Mountain. And it does have 6 items available to him when he also picks up the hookshot in Eastern Palace. However, he might feel behind enough that he just wants to head over to Swamp Palace and get the 5 items there and the crystal.
I think there's 6 items in the swamp.
Or sorry, yes, 6. Yeah, it's even.
Yeah. But Dark Death Mountain actually would have 7 if you count Spike Cave. So
That's a good point.
call it 2 ways. But Swamp check would also include potentially like a Bombos tablet check.
Yeah, I believe SaberWulf already checked Bombos because he had Book when he made it over to do Lunchbox.
Yeah, that would make sense.
SaberWulf showing off that those skeletons are actually loaded and you can hit them with sword beams.
Alright, so there we go. SaberWulf got the hook shot as well.
And Spleebie is just hunting for big and 1 small key. When he finds those, he will be able to go fight the boss.
I think when you reason all the way through it, you basically kind of back yourself into I have to go to Death Mountain. Mainly because, you know, if the ice rod is up there, then you just finish it and that's good. And your opponent might have done the same thing and that's cool. If it's not up there, then your opponent probably did the same thing and you haven't really lost any time.
I agree, and as he hasn't not been up there yet, knowing what medallion is required for Total Rock is a pretty big thing, because knowing your 1 item or 2 items from go mode does make a difference.
So SaberWulf is going to be the first of our runners to get the crystal here from Eastern Palace. So there is one more location that SaberWulf might be inclined to check after beating Eastern, and that is the Pyramid Fairy.
That is correct. He will have gotten both of the 5 and 6 crystals. And I don't believe either of our runners has actually checked Vanilla Pyramid, the Pyramid Ledge.
Wow, yeah. I know SaberWulf did check Catfish.
Yep, but I
But he came in from
believe
the
either
north side.
mirrored or save and quitted after that.
Yeah. Alright, so that is SaberWulf's 5th crystal.
And just behind him on the other side of the, well, Dark World, Spleebie is gonna make short work of this Helmosaur fight. He's electing to do the swordless strats, which is technically slightly faster.
Saber is fluting. Where's he going? 4. So I have to hope for SaberWulf's sake that this is just a Pyramid Fairy check.
Yeah, we'll see here. Will he go north or will he go south?
It's a north.
Well, that's excellent news for SaberWulf, though he doesn't know it yet. He'll check the 3 items there, not find much, but then he hopefully will be able to head up to Death Mountain.
He may just return to 4, though, so we're not out of the woods yet.
Certainly not.
I mean, we did basically get everything we needed out of the woods, but that's beside the point.
Yes, no return to Skull Woods necessary for this seed. So Spleebie is going to come back in here and have his revenge on that dark room that caused him so much grief early in the run. Just a piece of heart on the ledge.
Alright, there's some money and some bombs, so what will SaberWulf be doing now? He's got the secret tech of just don't move and mirror coming out of Pyramid Fairy.
Yep, thankfully those orange bushes are a little forgiving, and you can get a warp onto it, some of them without too much of an issue,
Oh,
and
he's
he is
flew to
heading up Death
1.
Mountain.
This just became close again.
Yeah, folks, this is going to be a very close race. SaberWulf, assuming he does the checks in the orders we expect, will find his Ice Rod and enter Go Mode, and he only has 2 crystals left to do. Spleebie is about to grab his 4th crystal, which will leave Ice Palace, the only one that SaberWulf has done that he hasn't.
So I feel like the way SaberWulf was routing this, he's going to find the Ice Rod here in this cave. So he's going to go outside, he's going to see that Quake is the medallion for Turtle Rock, and I think since he'd have to mirror anyway, he might just mirror, leave, and go to Swamp and then come back. I don't know.
Either way, he might actually be able to save a little bit of time here by skipping Hookshot Cave.
Yep, that's true.
Yep, Spleebie with 5 crystals heading into Ice Palace.
SaberWulf is just going to go ahead and open Turtle Rock, and that makes sense.
So SaberWulf does have the slightly longer dungeon to clear, Turtle Rock versus Ice Palace, and knowing where the big key is and the final small key, he will have to do almost a full clear. There's one chest on Laser Bridge that can be skipped in a normal checking method.
Ah, yes. We did neglect to mention that Saber officially entered Go mode when he picked up that ice rod. He's going to head through Turtle Rock as fast as he can. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be that much faster than normal.
Nope, Turtle Rock is one of the worst dungeons to have to Go mode, as you can't really save much time on it in most cases. Spleebie having a little trouble with his Ice Palace bomb skip, but gets it on the third try.
It's that last second movement right there.
Yeah. I actually think his initial line was good, but he wasn't sure on it and moved off of it. Yeah, folks, while Spleebie is ahead right now, until people find the big key in Ganon's tower, there's still some route divergence that can happen, and there's a lot of time that can be made up in execution in Ganon's tower. So with that Ice Palace bomb jump and being in Go mode, you can Spleebie is already onto his boss, and you can see just how fast Ice Palace is when you don't have to check any of the chests. Eight fire rod shots, and will he get the spin? No, Spleebie also lets Cold Stare out, and now has to hunt down the little eyes.
Just takes 4 slashes with the Butter Sword to take down each one of Cold Stare's puffballs.
Yes, Butter Sword makes this fight a lot easier, and is probably one of the biggest differences of tempered or Butter Sword versus Tempered Sword. So Spleebie grabs his 6th crystal, and Swamp Palace is the only crystal remaining for him. And this is a very fast dungeon as well to clear. So Dr. Bob, if you're Spleebie in this case, do you check any of the chests in Swamp Palace?
Not
even the really fast one, the last chest before the boss?
No. I have Butter Sword, I have Silvers, I have Red Mail, I have all the bottles. What else could I want?
A 13th heart piece?
Nah. I'll pick that up in GT.
Yeah, that's certainly true. It's pretty common to get at least 1 heart, if not 2, assuming Ganon's tea is about halfway through. It looks like chat wants you to check that chest to try to find half magic.
Oh, well, you know, I mean, I don't think I need it.
No, not with the setup they have. The primary uses you'd use half magic for instance, Cape on Ganon, aren't really that important. Butter Sword gets you through the first phases so quickly that it's not really necessary. Alright, SaberWulf gets his key, and with 2.5 hearts is heading over to try next. I'll be interesting to see if he decides to powder a fairy here. And it does look like he's going to. Though... So SaberWulf shows off that he does understand geometry, and manages to chase down one of the anti-fairies, and get a few more hearts for doing his Trinex fight with.
If you can dodge the heads okay in this fight, then you should be able to take it down without much issue.
Yep, you just want a few hearts for safety in case something goes wrong at the start of the fight, or if you mess up the spin. Because the head does do a lot of damage, even with red mail.
If you can dodge a head, you can dodge a ball. Thought I'd let you know.
SaberWulf has a good Trinex fight. This is one of the early slashes, though, so Trinex does get to turn the corner, and SaberWulf picks up his 6th crystal. So as Spleebie nears the boss fight, we're going to see SaberWulf enter Swamp Palace. So our runners are very close right now.
And as you can see, Spleebie agreeing with me on this one, not checking a blame thing here in Swamp Palace. But his opponent is hot on his heels. This race is not over by any means.
No, definitely not. There's still plenty of possibility for divergence in Ganon's tower, depending upon if we have left or right checks, and execution is still a huge thing.
Spleebie's doing the very interesting butter sword poke strats here, or was for a bit.
Yep, looks like he got a little bit off on his dashing, but not too big of a deal. Gets it done in 2 cycles.
I thought you didn't actually need to dash when you had butter sword.
That's actually a good point. You might not need to. I don't quite remember what the damage differences are for pokes with tempered versus butter.
So SaberWulf now entering Swamp Palace at the same time Spleebie is leaving it. And that's our 7th crystal. You know what that means it's time for, right?
I think it's time for us to play a little game. So chat, go ahead and get your guesses in for where the big key will be in. There are 22 possible locations. And if you have been a supporter of the Speed Gaming Network, either through subbing or having donated 250 bits, you can be entered into the leaderboard. So Dr. Bob, where do you think it's going to be?
Well, I just got wrecked again. 14 is my traditional guess because that's traditionally Bob's chest. And inevitably someone beats me to it.
And you're the one starting the guessing game.
Yeah, but I don't want to be that guy who's just like, start 14!
Fair enough. With this race having been, the seed being pretty kind to our runners, I want to troll them a little bit, and I'd like 21.
21 seems good. Alright, so as soon as Spleebie enters Ganon's tower, we will be cutting off the game.
Yeah, and SaberWulf is, of course, making quick work here through Swamp Palace. He's going to be very close to his boss fight about the same time Spleebie gets into Ganon's tower. So chat, if you haven't guessed yet, get it in. We're about to close it.
Alright, right, Spleebie entering Ganon's tower. First 2 chests on the right-hand side, as is tradition.
Yep, the standard checks.
With a small key and a piece of heart, and we're going right side.
Yeah, Spleebie decides to take the key as a sign he wants to be on the right side. SaberWulf had a little issue with the start of his fight, but it looks like he should also be able to finish this off in 2 phases.
And Spleebie is heading to the compass room. That's going to be 4 more chests in which to locate the big key. SaberWulf, meanwhile, taking down Argus. Number 3 is a 5 bomb upgrade. 4 is 50 rupees. 5 is also 50 rupees. And number 6 is the mirror shield.
Well, Mirror Shield's a fun item to have, though it doesn't really do much for runners at the point.
Spleebie heads to pick up the small key and mirrors away. And so we will now see what is on the torch.
Yeah, so SaberWulf could pick up a little bit of time if he chooses to go left side.
We have a mushroom on the torch. That's number 7.
Anyone feel like doing another fetch quest?
Not really. Considering this is not Key Sanity.
But don't you need more potions for your Ganon fight?
Not if I'm Spleebie. I went and bought like 3, right?
Yes, you did.
Anyway, there's another small key. 50 rupees. 5 rupees. And an additional small key. That takes you up to chest number 11 with no big key in sight. Number 12 is a burrito.
The most useless map of them all.
And the most vanilla.
Yes.
So SaberWulf decides to go left. He could probably save himself a little bit of time.
Yep, he could save about a minute or so.
Or maybe if he decides to go full right side.
Yeah, if this is locked behind Ice Armos, that would be quicker.
Alright, that is number 13, just a red rupee. Time to head over to the randomizer room.
See, this is why I'm glad I have you, Bob, because I don't actually remember any of the actual room names in here. Which makes it a real annoyance when checking spoilers for rando seeds.
14 is a blue rupee. 15. Number 15 contains the big key. SaberWulf is going left.
So as Spleebie starts up the tower into the gauntlet, SaberWulf is hunting after his Ganon's big key. Spleebie having a bit of issue getting those mimics into position. They are really annoying to corral.
Takes care of that second room in a plenty fine fashion, though.
Yes, that's the one that's a little bit easier to do. There's a couple of relatively easy strats to get them to move. The first room requires a little bit more precise sword swinging.
I just grabbed the wall in the first room and moved them around.
Yep, that's a very solid way to do it. And Spleebie actually, with the mirror shield, had the option to just go run right at them, as the mirror shield does reflect the projectiles.
Yep, there is that. SaberWulf will not be getting the mirror shield.
Correct, unless he does a very strange Ganon Tower route.
Be like the darkest magician strats.
Yes. That red skeleton did not want to die. I think those are my least favorite enemies in Ganon's tower.
Yeah, so the fun part with the gauntlet is they decided to pick all the enemies that have basically the most RNG in their movements and throw them into one place.
And then have you get on ice.
Exactly. SaberWulf is actually going to pick this up as his chest number 13.
And he is heading up the tower as well.
We'll see how much time SaberWulf can make up here.
Yep, Spleebie misses the 1 cycle on Lambos. Can he get it in 2? Second arrow is good, but the third is wide, and Lemolis takes a quick dive.
So, turns out, Spleebie actually set up, what's it called? The, he powdered the bunny beam in the previous room, which, is going to throw off the spawns for Landmo.
Yep, the timer does get off, and they follow a different pattern.
One thing I like to do, if I'm going to do that and I have Butter Sword, is I do what I call the Willard strats, where I will wait for a second, even longer, so they all spawn at the exact same time, just go in, spin them, and then try to slash as many as I can before they disappear.
Yeah, Butter Sword does give you a number of spin options as well. SaberWulf going to bonk over to the fairy cave, demonstrating that bonking is a developer-intended feature. Spleebie beats the unofficial boss of Ganon's tower and manages to not despawn it with the torch.
And Spleebie has no interest in checking these remaining chests on the way up GT.
Yep, with the 2 keys both of our runners have, they don't need anything else to be able to get over to Ganon.
Spleebie will be refilling that magic, though, and getting that hookshot ready for the final Trolldorm chest.
Well, Spleebie got the first slash okay, but Trolldorm did not want to give up the second.
Meanwhile, SaberWulf is on to the Landmo 2 fight.
Oh, he got hit by the rock from the first Landmoa and is not able to get the 1 cycle. That was a really nice cross-room arrow, but he too, it looks like, could do this in 3 cycles.
This room is what I call the true final boss of Ganon's tower. The bumpers and Helmosaurs.
Yeah, if you don't... There's a couple of lines you can do to get through there easy, but if you mess those up, it's annoying. Well, Spleebie had the option for a triple, but does manage to get 2.
And so we've got Geometry Wizard today. That's a double-double. Toil and trouble, I guess?
Something like that. Aga being very considerate with his blue balls. And a nice quick Aga fight. So Spleebie is onto his Ganon fight. 4 phases. And as long as he can avoid falling, he should be able to take this one home. Buttersword making these first phases extremely quick, just slashes.
There we go. Spleebie exactly counting the number of slashes he needs, not even worried about it.
Yep, 3rd phase already. Does let the bats spawn, but that shouldn't be too big of an issue.
I was wondering when Ganon was going to start doing teleports.
Yeah, he can't make the whole fight easy. We are on to phase 4. 4 arrows and we are done. Spleebie misses torch glitch. But he gets a nice double. And that is the fight.
There we go. Spleebie finishing with an official time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 58 seconds. Just seconds before SaberWulf takes down Agate 2. So pretty close race from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, this should be within just a couple minutes of each other. GG to Spleebie, and we will see if we can get him in here for an interview. So SaberWulf kicks off his Ganon fight. Let's see if he can get as fast of one as well.
And we are joined by Spleebie. Congratulations, sir.
Hey, thanks. GG.
Yeah, GG to you, Spleebie. Well done on a very nice time.
Thanks. I see SaberWulf is just fighting Ganon now.
Yep, he's just was just a couple minutes behind you.
Super close, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, how did you feel?
Go ahead.
How are you feeling? Ahead, behind?
I was feeling a little behind when I died in the Eastern Dark Room, and then doing all of Thieves Town. That I don't think really gave me anything. But then I ended up not having to do a lot of the overworld checks, so I don't know. Kind of some of both.
Right. So your opponent also did all of Thieves Town. He did Skull Woods, clearly. So they got those because you both had the butter sword, and of course he also dipped Ice Palace before checking Pod in Eastern area. He was looking for the bow still.
And so SaberWulf has also official time of 1 hour 43 minutes second.
So 1:43:14 there.
So yeah, Spleebie, at Eastern Palace death, you got trolled real hard by that Igor.
Yeah, it wasn't as much that, I mean, the Igor is what killed me, obviously, but I couldn't find the pot.
Yeah, but it was... Did it feel really good, though, finding Bow in Sharosla and then Silver's and Hookshot in Eastern?
Yeah, it did. I was like, oh, sweet, I can just clear out Eastern while I'm here and go. But, yeah, that was really nice seeing that there instead of waiting to find Bow before heading to the Eastern area.
So, I gotta ask you. So you were up on Death Mountain, Dark Death Mountain, looking around, opened up Turtle Rock. If you hadn't found the ice rod in Super Bunny Cave, were you gonna go into Turtle Rock anyway?
That's the good question. I was debating it, because I've seen Ice Rod on Laser Bridge how many times. But the Ice Rodless TR dip, I couldn't decide. I was like, well, I'll clear this out and then maybe. So I'm glad I didn't have to make that choice.
All right, so let's see if we could get SaberWulf to join us as well. There we are. Congratulations on finishing, SaberWulf. Very well done race. So, there we go. So how are we doing?
SaberWulf, if you're trying to talk, we can't hear you right now.
Yeah, he said there may have been some problems with his microphone in the past. He's trying it again this time, but I don't know if it'll work. We'll see. All right, so while we're waiting on that, we'll see what else we can ask of Spleebie here. So, when do you think your opponent checked the magic bat?
After pod, at least, probably. Where was magic bat? We got the hammer and powder super early.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as, basically, he checked magic bat as soon as he got the powder out of Paradox Cave, and that's where the Moon Pearl was, right?
Oh, okay.
Now,
so he got that was the mitts, right, from magic bat?
No, it was
Moon Pearl.
Moon Pearl. Jeez, my brain is just crazy.
Yeah, so he ended up at Dark Ward Axis actually quite a bit before you.
And that's actually why he didn't get the bow, is because he wanted to combine Pod and Eastern once he got the bow. But of course he didn't get the bow. So there you go.
Yeah, I think Magic Bat was like the second to last check I had for Dark Ward
Yes,
Axis.
it was. Yeah, your only other choice at that point, I believe, was to head up to Zora.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody checked Zora in this race.
I didn't have the rupees, and then I was like, well, I'll come back if I find rupees. Or if it's the last thing, you know.
So I had one other routing question for you. You had the ability to full clear pod fairly early, but you put it off for quite a while. What was the reasoning behind that?
I don't remember where the lamp was. For a while I was waiting for the lamp to go back, or the lantern to go back and do Eastern and Pod together. But after that, I think it was I was hoping that I could go mode the rest of the dungeons, which I ended up being able to go mode 4 of them, I think.
Yeah, you were able to do a lot of them.
So that was basically, I mean, I've seen tons of progression in overworld stuff, and I had already dipped the Pendant dungeon, so I was like, well, if it's not an overworld, then I guess I might be behind.
So just throwing this out there, those particular, the timers that tell you when you got certain items in this game.
Right.
They were all like 10 minutes or so. It was ridiculous. You got the boots,
flute, like 11
flute,
seconds.
The boots, the flute, the mirror, and the first sword, all within like the first 10 minutes or so. It's ridiculous.
So, do you have any final thoughts on the race?
No, just GG to SaberWulf. And thanks to everyone for putting this on. You know, commentators, tracker, speed gaming. You know, thanks to everyone.
And once again, good luck to you in the next round, where you have that shot at reaching the bracket stage. One more win and you're in.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the 4-2 round is going to be pretty tough, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of trouble with SaberWulf's mic, but well played as well. And congratulations on finishing. All right, so with that, I once again want to thank both of our runners, Spleebie and SaberWulf044, for running on stream here. I want to thank Deuce May for tracking today, been an excellent job taking care of that situation. And of course, to the Speed Gaming Network for putting on this wonderful show. And I want to thank my co-commentator, Emlyn. Thank you so much for riding along with me today.
Of course, it's been an absolute pleasure to commentate this with you.
Yep, and no hard feelings when one of us destroys the other this evening.
Speaking of that, so if you guys have not gotten enough Randomizer today, we have quite a few matches still on this Saturday. So a match that started about 20 minutes ago on Speed Gaming 5 is Gemini versus Zero Rush. Coming up at 6 p.m. on Speed Gaming 4 is Nifboy versus Toadette X Mushina. 7 p.m. Speed Gaming 2, Jet 082 versus Thalane. That's going to be an excellent race, and I highly recommend people to go watch that. And then several more races coming up throughout the evening.
Yeah, one of which might be ours. Just throwing that one out there.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be racing tonight at 10. Right? That's how that got scheduled?
10 p.m. Eastern. So in roughly 4.5 hours.
Oh, I guess I'm going to go need to do a practice seed.
Ugh. I don't know if I would want to do a practice seed before a race seed. I'd get them all confused in my head.
Well, that is an excellent point. With that, I've been Emlyn.
I've been Dr. Bobtastic.
And thank you all for watching, and have a good one.
See you later.